For 10 years, lawyer Sarah Mitchell received $5,000 monthly from client Robert Hammond. They communicated only through emails and phone calls. When she finally decided to visit his house, she discovered Robert had been dead for a decade. So who was paying her fees, and why? Sarah Mitchell was a successful 42-year-old lawyer who operated a small law firm in Boston. She had been practicing law for 15 years and provided consultation to her clients on family law, inheritance, and real estate matters. Her office was modest, but her reputation was solid. Sarah's life changed in October 2014. A man named Robert Hammond, whom she had never met before, called her and requested legal representation. "Ms. Mitchell, I was told you were recommended," Robert had said on the phone. His voice belonged to a middle-aged man, calm and educated. "I'd like you to represent me." "In what matter, Mr. Hammond?" Sarah had asked. "Various legal matters. Estate planning, real estate affairs, contract reviews. I want an ongoing consulting relationship." Sarah preferred this type of regular clients. "Of course. Let's schedule an appointment and discuss the details." "Actually," Robert had said, "I have some difficulty with face-to-face meetings. Due to my health condition, I have trouble leaving home. Could we work through phone and email?" Sarah had encountered such situations. Elderly or sick clients sometimes couldn't leave their homes. "Of course. You can send the necessary documents by mail." "Perfect. Would a monthly fee of $5,000 be acceptable? I'll pay the first 6 months' fees in advance." Sarah had been surprised. A monthly $5,000 was a large amount. Most of her clients paid hourly fees. "That's a very generous offer, Mr. Hammond. I accept." The next day, $30,000 was deposited into Sarah's account. The bank transfer came with the explanation, "Robert Hammond Estate Planning." During the first 6 months, Robert regularly called Sarah and sought information about various topics: real estate purchase advice, investment contracts, estate planning. His questions were intelligent and educated. Robert's voice was always the same, an elderly but clearly speaking man. Sarah began to feel warmth toward him. After 6 months, Robert called again, saying he wanted to extend the contract. This time he would make an annual payment. $60,000 was deposited into Sarah's account. This routine continued as years passed. Every January, Robert's annual fee was deposited, and Sarah continued her consulting service. Sarah occasionally suggested meeting Robert face-to-face, but he always politely declined. "My health condition is unfortunately not improving, Sarah. Receiving visitors is very difficult."
"Maybe I could come to you," Sarah would suggest. "You're very kind, but my home situation isn't quite suitable for entertaining guests either. Our current system works perfectly, doesn't it?" Sarah didn't insist on this matter. Robert was a reliable and regular client. The monthly $5,000 had become the main source of income for Sarah's office. Robert's questions also changed over time. While the first years were focused on real estate and investment, in later years he began to request more consultation on inheritance law and wills. "Sarah, if a person passes away but inheritance procedures haven't been concluded yet, how long does client representation last?" he would ask. Questions like this. Sarah considered these questions normal too. Elderly clients usually dealt with these topics. In 2019, Sarah noticed a change in Robert's voice. He began speaking more tired and hoarse. "How is your health, Mr. Hammond?" she asked one day. "Problems that come with old age, Sarah. But don't worry. I'll continue to need your service." When the pandemic started in 2020, Sarah wondered about Robert's condition. It was a risky period for elderly people. "How are you during the pandemic, Mr. Hammond? Do you need any help?" "Very thoughtful, Sarah. I'm cautious enough. I don't leave home anyway. I feel lucky to have valuable people like you." The years 2021 and 2022 passed the same way. Robert regularly made payments, and Sarah continued her consulting service. But in 2023, Sarah began to notice some inconsistencies.
Robert's questions began to repeat. He was asking the same topics again on different days. "Mr. Hammond, we discussed this topic last month too," Sarah said one day. "Ah, yes, you're right. Old age, Sarah. My memory isn't what it used to be." But a suspicion arose in Sarah. Robert's memory had never been this bad. At the beginning of 2024, Sarah made a decision. She would finally visit the client she had only communicated with through phone and email for 10 years. She found Robert's address from her records, 1247 Maple Street, Brookline, Massachusetts. Sarah decided to go to his house without calling Robert. She thought a surprise visit would better understand the client's real situation. When she went to the address in Brookline, she found a modest 2-story house. The garden was well maintained, the house looked clean, but the window curtains were closed. Sarah rang the doorbell. No answer. She rang again. Still no answer. An elderly woman came out of the neighboring house. "Are you looking for someone?" she asked. "Yes, I'm looking for Robert Hammond. He lives in this house." The woman looked surprised. "Robert Hammond? But he—" "Yes. He died 10 years ago in a car accident, in 2014. Sarah's world collapsed. "This is impossible. I spoke with him just last week. Young lady, Robert Hammond lived in this house, but he passed away 10 years ago. I even attended his funeral, I'm sure." Sarah's heart began beating rapidly. "So who lives in this house now?" "Nobody. The house is empty. His heirs were trying to sell it, but couldn't find buyers." Sarah looked at the house more carefully. It indeed looked empty. "You probably saw the obituary in the newspaper," said the neighbor. "Brooklyn Gazette, October 15, 2014. Sarah thanked her and hurriedly returned to her car. Her mind was confused. Who had she been talking to for 10 years? She went to the Brookline Library and researched 2014 newspapers. She found the obituary in the October 15, 2014 Brookline Gazette. Robert Hammond, 67, died in a car accident on October 12, 2014. He lived in Brookline for 30 years. Retired math teacher. He leaves behind no spouse or children. Funeral service will be held on October 15. Sarah was horrified. Robert had really died. But she had been talking to someone for 10 years. After returning to her office, Sarah examined Robert's account information. Payments regularly came from a company called Hammond Estate Services. When she did an internet search, she couldn't find such a company. The phone number wasn't in the records either. A terrible possibility occurred to Sarah. Was someone stealing his identity and transferring money? But this was impossible, because Robert's voice was always the same. The same person had been calling her for 10 years. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. When morning came, she made a plan. She would call Robert and learn the truth. The next morning she called Robert's known number. "Hello, Sarah," said the familiar voice. "How are you?" "Robert. Are you really Robert Hammond?" "Of course. Why are you asking such a question?" "I visited your house yesterday. According to your neighbors, Robert Hammond died 10 years ago." There was a long silence on the phone. "Sarah," said the voice, now in a different tone, "I think it's time for an explanation." "Who are you?" "My name is Michael Hammond. I'm Robert's son." Sarah was shocked. "Son? But Robert, who died, had no children." "Officially, no. I'm an illegitimate child. My father never acknowledged me." Sarah's head was spinning. "But why did you play this game? Why did you use your father's identity?" Michael took a deep breath. "It's a long story, Sarah. I'll tell you everything. But let's meet face to face. I'll give you the explanation you deserve." Sarah hesitated. She had been deceived for 10 years. But her curiosity prevailed. "Okay, but where will we meet?" "At a cafe in Brookline. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. I'll text you the address." The next day, Sarah was near the cafe. A middle-aged, thin man was waiting at the door. His hair was gray, his eyes sad. "Sarah, I'm Michael." Sarah examined the man. He resembled Robert's voice from the phone. After sitting in the cafe, Michael began telling his story. My father, Robert Hammond, was a retired math teacher, but he had a very secret life. He married young, but his wife left him. My mother and my mother was my father's student, a forbidden relationship. My father didn't accept responsibility. Why did you come forward now? My father left me a letter before he died, in the secret safe in his house. He wrote that he was sorry, that he was sad for not acknowledging me. And he said he left me an inheritance. Inheritance? My father lived very frugally, but he had secretly accumulated a very large fortune, stocks, real estate investments, money in banks, a total of $2 million. Sarah was surprised. But this doesn't give you the right to use your father's identity. Michael bowed his head. You're right, but the problem is, my father couldn't officially leave me the inheritance because I'm not his legal son. The inheritance would go to the state. So how did you get the money? I gained access to my father's bank accounts using his identity information. I know it's illegal, but that money was the only thing my father wanted to leave me. Sarah was trying to understand the situation. So where do I fit into this? Withdrawing money from my father's accounts was raising suspicion. But if you, as a lawyer, were receiving payment, it looked legal. I was laundering the money through you. Money laundering, yes, but only for my own inheritance. It wasn't malicious. Sarah was angry. Michael, this is a serious crime. You made me an accomplice, too. I know, but I had no other choice. And I didn't harm you. You got your money. So what happens now? Michael looked at her. The money is finished now, Sarah. The $2 million is exhausted, too. The last payment was this month. Sarah calculated. For 10 years, $60,000 annually. A total of $600,000. What happened to the remaining $1.4 million? My mother's treatment, deaths, living expenses. It's all gone. Sarah was silent for a long time. Finally, she spoke. Michael, what you did was very wrong, but it's also a very sad story. If I were in your place, I don't know what I would have done either. Will you turn me into the police? Sarah thought. Michael was clearly guilty, but he was also a man deprived of his father and cheated out of his inheritance rights. I won't right now, but I have a condition. What is it? This identity theft will end now. All of Robert Hammond's accounts will be closed, and you'll start living under your real name. Michael nodded. I accept. There's nothing left to do anyway. Sarah stood up. Michael, I hope you live an honest life from now on. Your father's inheritance didn't bring you happiness. I know, but at least I paid my debt to him. As Sarah left the cafe, she thought. For 10 years she had worked with a ghost. But this ghost had given her not only money, but also a very important lesson. Sometimes reality is much more complex than it appears. And sometimes people do wrong things for wrong reasons. When Sarah returned to her office, she closed the Robert Hammond file. But she didn't forget Michael's story. A few months later, Sarah received a letter from Michael. He had found work under his real name and began living a normal life. I'll be grateful to you, Sarah, he had written, not because you forgave me, but because you showed me the right way. Sarah smiled as she saved the letter. She had never seen such an interesting case in her law practice, and the Robert Hammond case had taught Sarah something important. There's a story behind every client, but sometimes these stories are much more complex than you could imagine.